Hello, friends. Welcome. My name is Douglas Grummins. I'm bringing to you today some of Patanjali's teachings as described from the mystic Osho. But this is for my friends, people who love yoga and are into yoga and want to understand more about the deeper meanings of the 8 steps of yoga. And I'm glad to bring this to you. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start reading on page 102 in the 5th volume of the Yoga Sutras given to us by Patanjali. Anyway, it starts off like this. It says, the 8 steps of yoga. This is the whole essence, the whole science of yoga in one sentence, in one seed. Many things are implied. First, let me tell you the exact meaning of each step. And remember, Patanjali calls them steps and limbs, both. They are both. Steps because they are because of one has to be followed by another. There is a sequence of growth, but they are not only steps, they are limbs of the body of yoga. They have an internal unity, an organic unity also. That is the meaning of the limbs. For example, my hands and my feet and my heart, they don't function separately. They are not separate. They are an organic unity. If the heart stops, the hand will not move. Everything is joined together. And they are not just like steps on a ladder, because every rung on the ladder is separate. If one rung is broken, the whole ladder is not broken. So Patanjali says they are steps because they have a certain sequential growth. But they are also agnas, limbs of the body, organic. You can drop any of them. Steps can be dropped. Limbs cannot be dropped. You can jump 2 steps in one jump, and you can drop 1 step if you need to, but limbs cannot be dropped. They are not mechanical parts. You cannot remove them. They make you. They belong to the whole, and they are not separate. The whole functions through them as a harmonious unit. So these 8 limbs of yoga are both steps in the sense that each follows the other, and they are in a deep relationship. The second cannot come before the first, and the first has to be the first, and the second has to be the second. And the 8th will come to be the 8th. It cannot be the 4th, and it cannot become the first. So they are steps, and they are in an organic unity also. Yam means self-restraint in English. The word becomes a little different. Not a little different, really. The whole meaning of yam is lost because in English, self-restraint looks suppressing and repressed. And these 2 words, suppression and repression, after Freud, have become 4-letter words, ugly. Self-restraint is not repression. In the days of when Patanjali used the word yam, it had a totally different meaning. Words go on changing, even now in India. Also, sanyam, which comes from yam, means control, repression. The meaning is lost. You may have heard an anecdote. It is said about King George I of England that when he went to see St. John's Cathedral, when it was built, it was a masterpiece of art. The builder, the architect, the artist was present there. His name was Christopher Wren. The king looked at him and complimented him. He said 3 words. He said, "It is amusing, it is awful, and it is artificial." And Christopher Wren was so delighted with the compliments, but you will be simply surprised that those words don't have the same meaning anymore. In those days, 300 years before, amusing used to mean amazing. Awful used to mean awe-inspiring. And artificial used to mean artistic. Each word has a biography, and it changes many times. As life changes, everything changes. The words take new colors, and in fact, the words which have the capacity to change, only they remain alive. Otherwise, they go dead. Orthodox words, reluctant to change, they die. Alive words, who have the capacity to collect a new meaning around them, only they live. And they live in many, many meanings for centuries. Yam was a beautiful word in Patanjali's days, one of the most beautiful. After Freud, the word became ugly. And not only the meaning has changed, but the whole flavor, the whole taste of the word. To Patanjali, self-restraint does not mean to repress oneself. It simply means to direct one's life, not to repress the energies, but to direct, to give them a direction. Because you can live such a life which goes on moving in opposite directions, in many directions, and then you will never reach anywhere. It is just like a car driver who goes a few miles to the north, then changes his mind and goes a few miles to the south, then changes his mind, then goes a few miles to the west, then changes his mind and goes to the east. He will never have the feeling of fulfillment. He will never reach anywhere. You can go on moving in many ways, but unless you have a direction, you are moving uselessly, and you will feel more and more frustrated and nothing else. So to create a self-restraint means first to give a direction to your life energy. Life energy is limited. If you go on using it in absurd, undirected ways, you will not reach anywhere, and you will be emptied of the energy sooner or later. And that emptiness will not be the emptiness of a Buddha. It will be simply a negative emptiness, nothing inside, an empty container. You will be dead before you are dead. But these limited energies have been given to you by nature, existence, and God, or whatsoever you want to call it. These limited energies can be used in such a way that they can become the door for the unlimited. If you move rightly, if you move consciously, or if you move alert, gathering all your energies and moving in one direction, if you are not a crowd, but become an individual, that is the meaning of yam. Ordinarily, you are a crowd, many voices inside. One says, go to this direction. Another says, that is useless, go to this direction. One says, go to the temple. The other says, go to the theater, it will be better. And you are never at ease anywhere, because wherever you are, you will be repenting. If you go to the theater, the voice that was saying, go for the temple, will go on creating trouble for you. What are you doing here and wasting your time? You would have been in the temple, and prayer is beautiful. And nobody knows what is happening there. And nobody knows this may have been the opportunity for your enlightenment, and you have missed. If you go to the temple, the same voice that was insisting to go to the theater will go on saying, what are you doing here? Like a foolish man, you are sitting here and you have prayed before and nothing happens. Why are you wasting your time? And all around you, you will see fools sitting and doing useless things. Nothing happens. In the theater, who knows what excitement, what ecstasy was possible, and you are missing. If you are not an individual, a unitary being, wherever you are, you will always be missing. You will never be at home anywhere. You will always be going somewhere or other and never arriving anywhere. You will become mad. The life which is against yam will become mad. And it is not surprising that in the West, more and more people exist than in the East. The East, knowingly or unknowingly, still follows a life of little self-restraint. And in the West, to think about self-restraint looks like becoming a slave. To be against self-restraint looks like you are free, independent. But unless you are an individual, you cannot be free. Your freedom will be a deception. It will be nothing but suicide, and you will kill yourself. Destroy your possibilities or your energies, and one day you will feel that the whole life you tried so much, but nothing has been gained. No growth has come out of it. Self-restraint means the first meaning, to give a direction to life. Self-restraint means to become a little more centered. How can you become a little more centered? Once you give a direction to your life, immediately a center starts happening within you. Direction creates the center. Then the center gives direction, and they are mutually fulfilling. Unless you are self-restrained, the second is not possible. That's why Patanjali calls them steps. The second is nayam, fixed observance, a life which has a discipline, a life which has a regularity about it, a life which is lived in a very disciplined way, not hectic, regularity. But that too will sound like slavery. All beautiful words of Patanjali's time have become ugly now. But I tell you, unless you have regularity in your life, a discipline, you will be a slave of your instincts. And you may think it is freedom, but you will also be a slave of all the vagrant thoughts. That is not freedom. You may not have any visible master, but you will have many invisible masters within you, and they will go on dominating you. Only a man who has a regularity about him can become the master someday. And that too is far away still, because a real master happens only when the 8th step is achieved, and that is the goal. Then a man becomes a jinya, a conqueror. Then a man becomes a Buddha, one who is awakened. And then a man becomes a Christ, a savior. Because if you are saved, suddenly you become a savior for others. Not that you try to save them, but your presence is a saving influence. The second is Nanyam, fixed observance. The third is posture, and every step comes out of the first, the preceding one. Then you have a regularity in life. Only then can you attain to posture. Asan. Try asan sometimes. Just try to sit silently. You cannot sit. The body tries to revolt against you. Suddenly you start feeling a pain here and there. The legs are going dead. Suddenly you feel in many spots of the body a restlessness. You had never felt it before. Why is it that just sitting silently so many problems arise? You feel ants are crawling up. Look and you will see there are no ants. The body is deceiving you. The body is not ready to be disciplined. The body is spoiled. The body does not want to listen to you. It has become its own master, and you have always followed it. Now, even to sit silently for a few minutes has become almost impossible. People pass through such hell if you tell them just sit silently. If I say this to somebody, he says just to sit silently, not doing anything, as if doing is an obsession, he says. At least give me a mantra so I can go on chanting inside. He needs some occupation. Just sitting silently seems to be difficult. And that is the most beautiful possibility that can happen to a man. Just sitting silently, doing nothing. Asan means relaxed posture. You are so relaxed in it. You are so restful in it that there is no need to move the body at all. In that moment, suddenly you transcend the body. The body is trying to bring you down when the body says, now look, many ants are crawling on you. Or suddenly you feel an urge to scratch, itching. The body is saying, don't go so far away. Come back. Where are you going? Because the consciousness is moving upwards, going far away from the bodily existence. The body starts revolting, and you have never done such a thing. The body creates problems for you, because once the problem is there, you will give it back, or you'll have to come back. The body is asking for your attention. Give your attention, and it will create pain. It will create itching. You will feel like scratching. Suddenly the body is no longer ordinary. The body is in revolt. It is body politics. You are being called back. Don't go so far away. Be occupied. Remain here. Remain tethered to the body and to the earth. And you are moving towards the sky. And the body feels afraid. Asan comes only to a person who lives the life of restraint, fixed, observance, regularity. When posture is possible, then you can simply sit because the body knows that you are a disciplined man. If you want to sit, you will sit. Nothing can be done against you. The body can go on saying things. By and by it stops. Nobody is there to listen. It is not suppression. You are not suppressing the body. On the contrary, the body is trying to suppress you. It is not suppression. You are not saying anything for the body to do. You are simply resting. But the body does not know any rest because you have never given rest to it. You have always been restless. The very word asan means rest, to be in deep rest. And if you can do that, many things will become possible to you. If the body can be in rest, then you can regulate your breathing. You are moving deeper because breath is the bridge from the body to the soul, from the body to the mind. If you can regulate breathing, that is pranyam, and you have the power over your mind. Have you ever watched that whenever the mind changes, the rhythm of the breath immediately changes? If you do the opposite, if you change the rhythm of the breath, the mind has to change immediately. When you are angry, you cannot breathe silently. Otherwise, anger will disappear. Try when you are feeling your breath goes chaotic. It becomes irregular, loses all rhythm, becomes noisy, restless. It is no longer harmony. A discord starts being there. The accord is lost. Try one thing. Whenever you are getting angry, just relax and let the breath be in rhythm. Suddenly you will feel the anger has disappeared. The anger cannot exist without a regular or a particular type of breathing in your body. And when you are making love, the breath changes, becomes very violent. When you are very much filled with sexuality, the breath changes and becomes very violent. Sex has little violence in it. Lovers are known to bite each other and sometimes harm each other. And if you see two persons making love, you'll see that some sort of fighting is going on. And there is a little violence in it. And both are breathing chaotically. Their breathings are not in rhythm, not in unison. In Tantra, there's much that has been done about sex and the transformation of sex. They have worked very much on the rhythm of the breath. If two lovers while making love can remain in a rhythmic breathing in unison, then that both of them have the same rhythm, there will be no ejaculation. They can make love for hours because ejaculation is only possible when the breath is not in rhythm. Only then can the body throw the energy. If the breath is in rhythm, the body absorbs the energy. It never throws it out. Tantra developed many techniques of changing the rhythm of breath. And then you can make love for hours and you don't need to lose energy. Rather, on the contrary, you gain, because if a woman loves a man and a man loves a woman, they help each other to be recharged because they are opposite energies. When opposite energies meet and spark, they charge each other. Otherwise, energy is lost. And after the lovemaking, you feel a little cheated, deceived. So much promise and nothing comes in the hand, and the hands remain empty. After asan comes breathing, regulation, pranayama. Watch for a few days and just take notes. When you become angry, what is the rhythm of your breathing? Whether exhalation is long or inhalation is long, or are they the same? Or inhalation is very small and exhalation is very long, or exhalation is very small and very long. Just watch the proportion of the inhalation and exhalation. And when you are sexually aroused, watch, take a note. When something's sitting silently and when sometimes sitting silently and looking at the sky in the night, everything is quiet around you. Just take note of how you're breathing. Take note of your breath and what is going on. When you are feeling filled with compassion, watch. Note down. When you are in a fighting mood, watch. Note down. Just make a chart of your own breathing. And then you know how much. And pranayama is not something which can be taught to you. You have to discover it because everybody has a different rhythm to his breathing. Everybody's breathing and its rhythm is as much different as thumbprints. Breathing is an individual phenomenon, and that's why I never teach it. You have to discover your own rhythm. Your own rhythm may not be the rhythm for somebody else, or may be harmful for somebody else. Your rhythm has to be found. And it is not difficult. There is no need to ask any expert. Just keep a chart for 1 month of all your moods and your states. Then you know which is the right rhythm, which feels the most restful, relaxed, and a deep let go, which is the rhythm where you feel quiet, calm, and collected and cool, which is the rhythm when somebody you feel blissful, filled with something unknown, overflowing. You have so much in that moment that you can give to the whole world, and it will not be exhausted. Feel and watch the moment when you feel that you are one with the universe. When you feel this separateness, there is no more a bridge. When you feel one with the trees and with the birds and the rivers and the rocks and the ocean and the sand, watch. You will find that there are many rhythms of your breath, a great spectrum, from the most violent, ugly, miserable hell type to the most silent heaven type. And then, when you have discovered your rhythm, practice it. Make it a part of your life. By and by, it becomes unconscious. Then only breath in that rhythm, and with that rhythm, your life will be a life of a yogi. You will not be angry. You will not feel sexual. You will not feel so filled with hatred. Suddenly, you will feel a transmutation is happening to you. Pranayama is one of the greatest discoveries that has ever been happened or has ever happened to human consciousness. Compared to pranayama, going to the moon is nothing. It looks very exciting, but it is nothing. Because even if you reach to the moon, what will you do there? Even if you reach to the moon, you will remain the same. You will do the same nonsense that you are doing here. Pranayama is the inner journey, and pranayama is the fourth. And there are only 8 steps. Half of the journey is completed on pranayama. A man who has learned pranayama not only by a teacher, but because that is a false thing, I don't approve it, but by his own discovery, his own alertness. A man who has learned his rhythm of being has achieved half the goal already. Pranayama is one of the most significant discoveries. And that concludes the first 4 steps of yoga. I hope you guys enjoyed this lecture. We'll pick up the other 4 on the next reading. But anyway, I know that things are a little crazy right now. Everybody's a little worried about everything right now, and the whole world's in a little bit of a chaotic state. But I wanted to bring this message to you and this teaching to you to help give you a center, give you direction, give you a goal, something to reach towards while all this is going on. And if you do that, if you direct yourself and have a little bit of a discipline, then the outcome will be great. It'll be one that you will love for yourself and love everybody else. But anyway, thank you again for joining me. Y'all take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks.